Alina Zerai stepped out of the black SUV into the biting autumn air, her luminescent violet eyes scanning the perimeter of the rustic cabin nestled among towering pines. The Earth atmosphere made her skin tingle uncomfortably beneath the holographic projector that gave her a human appearance. This isolated dwelling would be her prison for the foreseeable future, a fate far different from the containment facility and biological experiments she had anticipated when she finally surrendered to Earth's Global Defense Council. "Welcome to your new home," said the tall, broad-shouldered man who had driven her in silence for the past 3 hours. Marco Reyes, her assigned handler, had the watchful eyes of someone who had seen too much combat and the rigid posture of a military man trying to hide his discomfort at being alone with a non-terrestrial being. "This is my punishment," Alina asked, her voice carrying the distinctive melodic undertones of Lidorian speech patterns that no technology could fully disguise. "A mountain retreat with a human babysitter." Marco's expression remained impassive as he retrieved her small containment case from the trunk. "Don't mistake this for clemency, Ms. Zerai. You're part of a program. Your cooperation determines whether you have a future on this planet." She laughed bitterly, the sound like distant wind chimes. "And what does your program want from the alien who compromised 3 major Earth defense systems? My technology, my knowledge of the other species monitoring your world." "That's classified," Marco replied, unlocking the cabin door. "For now, you're under my supervision. The cabin has security measures calibrated specifically to Lidorian biology. Your bio-tracker will alert me if you attempt to shift form or move beyond the permitted boundary." Alina stepped inside, surveying her new cage, surprisingly comfortable with its stone fireplace and rustic wooden furniture. A far cry from the dissection table she had expected for her crimes. "The agency believes some individuals, regardless of their planet of origin, are more valuable rehabilitated than studied," Marco explained, setting down her case. "I don't necessarily agree, but it's not my call." Alina turned to face him, the faint bioluminescent patterns beneath her skin visible through the holographic disguise when she was emotional. "And you, what do you believe, Mr. Reyes?" "I believe trust is earned, not given," he said, meeting her gaze directly, "especially with beings who can alter their molecular structure." Over the next few days, they established a cautious routine. Marco maintained a professional distance, working from a small office in the cabin, occasionally taking calls outside where she couldn't hear with her enhanced senses. Alina was given limited access to a modified computer system where she translated alien transmissions as part of her rehabilitation. At night, she would often find Marco watching her from across the room, his dark eyes unreadable. She felt exposed under his scrutiny, not as a prisoner, but as a female being in the presence of a male whose pheromones she found disturbingly attractive despite their biological differences. During her third night, the pain of Earth's magnetic field disrupting her natural biorhythms jolted her awake. She found herself in the kitchen at midnight, hands trembling as she mixed the mineral solution that helped her maintain equilibrium. "The adaptation gets easier eventually," Marco's voice startled her. He stood in the doorway wearing only sweatpants, his chest bare and covered with scars that told stories of past violence. "Speaking from experience with extraterrestrials?" she asked, trying not to stare at his physiology so alien yet compelling to her. "We all have to adapt to survive," he replied, stepping closer to take the flask from her shaking hands. His fingers brushed hers, sending an unexpected current through her body that made the bioluminescent patterns under her skin pulse visibly. "I didn't expect understanding from my human captor," Alina whispered. "I'm your handler, not your captor." Marco measured additional minerals into her mixture, "and I've seen enough fear of the unknown to last several lifetimes." As he handed her the flask, their fingers touched again, lingering longer than necessary. Alina looked up to find his stoic expression softened, a flicker of something dangerous in his eyes, not xenophobia but curiosity, perhaps even desire. "Tomorrow we begin decoding the Centaurian transmissions," he said, his voice lower, huskier. "Get some rest, Alina." She watched him retreat to his room, her heart, or the Lidorian equivalent, racing with the realization that her punishment might prove more complex than she had imagined. The walls of her gilded earth cage suddenly felt charged with possibilities both frightening and thrilling. The mountain winds howled against the cabin windows as Alina Zerai sat cross-legged on the floor, her holographic disguise disabled in the privacy of her room. Her natural form, with iridescent lavender skin and bioluminescent patterns that flowed like constellations across her body, was a relief after days of maintaining her human appearance. She sensed Marco before he knocked, quickly activating her disguise. "Enter," she called, the melodic undertones of her voice betraying her exhaustion. Marco appeared with a tablet, New transmissions, the encryption matches known Proximan patterns. Proximans, Alina hissed, her disguise flickering momentarily with her surge of emotion. They're the ones who, she stopped herself. Marco's eyes narrowed, the ones who what? Nothing, she took the tablet, their fingers brushing. The electric sensation made her luminescent patterns flare beneath her holographic skin. Your disguise isn't perfect when you're emotional, Marco noted, his voice softer than usual. Alina looked away. Earth's electromagnetic field makes it difficult to maintain. That night, as Alina worked on decrypting the transmissions, the cabin's power flickered and died. The mountain storm had intensified to dangerous levels. Emergency generator should kick in, Marco said, checking the security systems. When it didn't, his expression darkened. I need to check the external unit. The temperature is well below human tolerance levels, Alina warned. I've survived worse. He bundled up and stepped into the howling blizzard. An hour passed, then two. Alina's alien senses detected Marco's life signs weakening in the distance. Against protocol, she disabled her bio-tracker and ventured into the storm. She found him half buried in snow, hypothermic and barely conscious. With her Lidorian strength, she carried him back to the cabin. Inside, she stripped away his frozen clothes and wrapped him in blankets, but his core temperature continued to drop dangerously. Alina hesitated only briefly before shedding her own disguise and clothes. She pressed her naturally warm body against his, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with healing energy as she transferred her heat directly into his failing system. Marco awoke hours later to find himself entwined with Alina's true form, her alien beauty undisguised. Their eyes met in the darkness. You saved me, he whispered, his hand tentatively tracing the luminescent patterns on her shoulder. We all have to adapt to survive, she echoed his earlier words. His fingers continued their exploration, and Alina felt a shiver that had nothing to do with the cold. The storm raged outside, but within the cabin, something far more powerful was brewing between two beings from different worlds. Alina stood by the window watching Marco chop wood outside. 2 weeks had passed since the blizzard, 2 weeks of lingering glances and cautious touches that sent her alien biology into unfamiliar emotional states. The computer behind her beeped with an incoming transmission. Alina froze as the screen displayed a coded message only Lidorians could interpret. We know where you are. Remember your family. When Marco returned, he found her frantically packing. What happened? I have to leave now. The holographic disguise couldn't hide her fear. Marco blocked the doors. Talk to me, Alina. They found me, the ones who forced me to steal your defense codes. The bioluminescent patterns beneath her skin pulsed erratically. I never wanted to betray Earth. Marco's expression hardened. Explain. Her holographic disguise failed completely as emotions overwhelmed her. Standing in her true Lidorian form, Alina's voice broke. My sister and her children are hostages on a Proximan outpost. They threatened to execute them unless I provided Earth's planetary defense codes. Why didn't you tell us this when you surrendered? Would your government have believed an alien spy? Her luminescent patterns darkened with despair. I turned myself in hoping they would kill me quickly and my family would be spared. Marco approached her slowly, his hand reaching out to touch her alien skin. Who sent the message just now? Proximan operatives, they've compromised your agency. Someone there has been tracking me. Marco's tactical mind worked quickly. That explains why my last 3 check-ins weren't acknowledged. He made a decision. We need to move tonight. There's a secure location my old Special Forces team used off all official records. As they prepared to leave, Alina caught his arm. Why are you helping me? Marco looked at her, his eyes tracing the constellation-like patterns across her face. Because I've seen your true nature, Alina, and it's not what I expected. That night, as they drove through mountain backroads, Alina explained the wider interstellar conflict that had entangled Earth. The Proximans wanted Earth's resources and saw humans as primitive obstacles. My people, the Lidorians, have been trying to protect developing worlds like yours, she said, but we're losing the war. Marco processed this revelation silently, so Earth is just collateral damage in someone else's war. I'm sorry, Alina whispered. His hand found hers in the darkness. We'll figure this out together. The abandoned ranger station deep in the national forest became their new hideaway. Without electricity or technology to maintain her disguise, Alina remained in her natural Lidorian form. Your agency will consider you a traitor, she said as Marco secured the perimeter. Wouldn't be the first time I've been misunderstood. His smile was grim. But if there's a mole compromising Earth's defenses, running was the right call. That night, huddled around the wood stove, Marco studied Alina's alien features with undisguised fascination. Does it bother you that I'm seeing you like this? On my world, our true patterns are only revealed to family and, she hesitated, intimate partners. The word hung between them in the firelit cabin. And what am I to you? Marco's voice was low, dangerous. Alina moved closer, her bioluminescent patterns brightening, something I never expected to find on Earth. His hand reached out, tracing the swirling constellation that ran down her neck to her collarbone. Where he touched, her skin responded with pulses of light. What happens when a human touches you here? He asked, his fingers brushing a cluster of lights above her heart. Alina's breath caught. Our physiology responds to emotional connections. The patterns react to, she gasped as his hand continued its exploration, desire. And this, Marco leaned forward, replacing his fingers with his lips against her luminescent skin. Alina's entire body illuminated with brilliant patterns. That is, not done between different species, she whispered, yet her hands pulled him closer. Maybe it should be, he murmured against her alien skin. Their first kiss bridged worlds, tentative at first, then deepening as they discovered each other's differences and similarities. Her luminescence enveloped them as Marco's hands explored the geography of her otherworldly body. Alina's senses, heightened by Earth's atmosphere, made every touch exquisite torture. When they finally came together, the cabin filled with pulsating light as their bodies joined in a dance as old as life itself, yet entirely new between their species. The barriers between them, physical, cultural, biological, dissolved in the heat of their union. Afterward, wrapped in blankets and each other, Alina touched Marco's face wonderingly. I never knew it could be like this with a human. I never knew it could be like this with anyone, he admitted. But even in this moment of connection, Alina knew the danger was still coming. Tomorrow they would need to confront the conspiracy that threatened them both. Dawn broke with the sound of approaching aircraft. Marco was instantly alert, weapons ready. Proximans, Alina confirmed, her alien senses detecting the specific energy signatures. At least 6 operatives, and, her eyes widened, humans with them. The mole brought friends, Marco's jaw tightened. Can you contact any of your people? Alina's hands moved in complex patterns, activating a dormant biological transmitter in her body. If any Lidorian ships are nearby, they'll know we need extraction. The cabin came under attack minutes later, energy weapons and conventional firearms creating a deadly crossfire. Marco moved with practiced precision, his special forces training evident in every calculated action. Alina used her own alien abilities, generating defensive energy fields and disabling their attackers with targeted electromagnetic pulses from her bioluminescent systems. Behind you, Marco shouted. Alina turned to face a human attacker, the agency mole, pointing a weapon modified with Proximan technology. Fraternizing with the enemy, Rays, the man sneered. She's using you to access Earth's defense grid. You're wrong, Marco replied, keeping his weapon steady. She surrendered to protect Earth. I've seen the evidence, the mole insisted. Manufactured by your Proximan handlers, Alina countered. A standoff ensued until brilliant light engulfed the clearing. A Lidorian extraction vessel had arrived, its advanced weapons neutralizing the remaining attackers. In the aftermath, Alina's sister and her children were rescued from Proximan custody by a coordinated Lidorian operation. Evidence of the conspiracy was delivered to Earth authorities, clearing both Alina and Marco's names. 1 month later, they stood together in the same mountain clearing where the battle had occurred. The Council has appointed me ambassador to Earth, Alina said, her holographic disguise now discarded permanently. First contact will be announced publicly next month. And us? Marco asked, his hand finding hers, fingers intertwining despite their different numbers of digits. Alina's luminescent patterns brightened in response to his touch. Interspecies relationships have no precedent in galactic diplomacy. So we'll be the first, Marco said with characteristic determination. Alina's alien features formed what Marco had learned was a smile. The first of many, I hope. As the sun set over the mountains, a human and a Lidorian stood together, their improbable love a bridge between worlds that had almost been enemies. Alina's body illuminated with joy as Marco pulled her close, her light enveloping them both, a beacon of possibility in the gathering darkness of night. The end.